Okay, somehow I should be streaming. Is this working? Am I streaming? Hello. You hear me okay? I assume so. Yes. Hi, Dad. Well, this is fun. Who got married? Bublin and Win. That's lovely. You can hear Mango's tippy tappies. That's right.
It's cork.
How is Mango? He is
Playing with a cork.
He's playing with a cork. Hello, suspicious user monitoring. Hi, Eva, suspicious user. First time chat. Hey, Santa Green. Nice tree. Yeah, it's all right, isn't it? Eh? Got it last weekend. So it's in a pot as well. It is living. It is a living tree. Which is pretty cool. I'm going to move that over there. Just fiddling around with my screens here. So I can see you all. Mango is our streamer. Nazdraví. God, I love beer. Yeah, I thought I'd go for cozy tonight. How's everyone doing? Hi, gangsters. Beer pilled. Yeah, what's up? I'm excited that you could make the stream. Have beer? You're back on the gluten? Yeah, I am. Although, to be fair, I'm not eating as much as I was before. Hi, first time chat, Nilanya. Guten Abend. In bed, ready for bedtime. Haha. Good evening from London. Hey, Londonium. House clouds. Prosit. Did I feel different? I did not feel different, I have to say. Although when I got back on it, there was a moment maybe where it was like, oh, okay, this is kind of heavy, but I'm trying to just not eat as much of it, really. Go for rice and potatoes. Dadzig today again. Yeah, I tell you what, it's one of my favourite breweries in terms of bottles. If I was on tap, it's good as well, but there are better options. Gets dark at 3:30 in Maine. Oh, because you're so far north. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. Good evening from the US. You're about to go to sleep. Okay, fair enough. Every dad should drink beer. Things are finally in order. There we go. Mum can stick to her wine. Hello from Slovakia. All right, nothing but lurking. That's a bit forward, isn't it? Hey, Dresden, wie geht's? Michigan, cool. Corey says hi from US. Quite a few from the US. That's nice. Do I study or do I listen to bedtime stories? Bedtime stories. Cool. A lot of first timers here. That's nice. Hey, Finland. How you doing, Laura J? Well, that's true. Mama does need his wine, Alison. That's fair enough. Dadzig Cobbler Youth Association Ensemble. RKYAA. That's got a ring to it. Sundown at 3 in Sweden too. Yeah, it's the latitude, isn't it? I forget that in the UK as well. But it's interesting because because we're in the same time zone. So when I speak to my fam in Germany, even they're still like that because they're further west. Funny that, isn't it? How we know these things now. We're all globally connected. Greece, nice. RKYA. There we go. It's fun to stay at the RKYA. It's fun to stay at the. All right, we got it. Wither A98, the book Prague in Black and Gold. I think I probably mentioned. It doesn't go into like super depth, Cześć pracy domowi bratrze, no jasnie. Your comment about licking Mango's dog Tippy Tappy appreciation was pinned by Rumi Isidai. Let's go for it. It's pinned. That's it. What else? RKY is a club only for Ziglings. I'll go with that. Nice. St. Petersburg, sweet. You're writing it down. Good idea. My brain's like that as well if I don't write it down. How's Mrs. Dadzig been? Mrs. Dadzig, I think it's been okay. The gnome made me bold. Oregon. Wowsies. Okay, so that's a long way away. No, you got the... I can't sing though, can I? I'll get banned or something. Shadow banned. We'll have to make up a song for RKYA. Sorry, prickly. We'll knock it out with some Edgar Allan Poe shortly then, I guess. Oops, don't knock the microphone. He's a professional here. Someone asked on Instagram for Pit and the Pendulum, but we did that last time, didn't we? Which is great. No way. Norsko. Jim said you'd make owl noises for us. Jim says a lot of things. Not yet. Christmas present, all right? The Telltale Heart, and Mars was asking for the Mask of the Red Death, and you asked last time, so I think we probably have to go with that. The YMCA song is now used in MAGA rallies. Really? Is that real? For sure? Jim said you can do a mean owl. No, I could do a nice owl. I don't do mean owls. Ha ha ha. Stop giving away things away. That's free. That's true. Yeah. Owl noises for Christmas. We'll remember. Yeah, I didn't say which Christmas. Trump loves that song. Yeah. All right. Telltale Heart, page 303. I need something to mark that. Couldn't do that. See how far we get tonight. 303. Listen to the pages. The Assignation. And we're going to go for the Mask of the Red Death, I believe. And at some point we'll probably get back to the unparalleled adventure of one Hans Pfahl, but that was such a long story. Even I was surprised. The Mask of the Red Death. Where are you? Not there. There's a dog and we can't see it. That's right. He's a terrier, so he'll terrorize me when I'm trying to do this. Thanks. Very nice Christmas tree. Yeah, sorted it out. It's Mrs. Dadzig's. Why the little Frenchman wears his hand in a sling. Okay, 5 pages. Where are you? The mask. 269. Double one of the best numbers. The Cask of Amontillado. 60 down. Curled up on your lap. Lucky you, Alison. Mango is a little bit more... What's the word? Needy.
He needs to get used to reading.
He's
crying because he can't be next to you, as we all do.
Yes. Oh, come now. Do the cask. Next time, Monster Heart, please. We should remember that, Sally, for next time. The cask. Have you watched The Terror? Hang on, what's The Terror now? Someone was telling me about this the other day. Was Alice telling me about it? And I don't think I have, because I'm a scaredy cat. I can't do horror. It scares me. I get very frightened. I'm going to check it out on IMDb though. And then I guess we should get started shortly. Oh, it's the true story of the Northwest Passage. Yeah, I'm reading horror. That's fine when I'm doing it here. But if I was like on my own in the middle of the night reading it, I'd probably get scared. Like when I was reading Lovecraft and stuff. And there's the other one as well. The Terror. Jim almost got cast in The Terror, did he now? The TV series. Still going on. The first season is about Northwest Passage. Okay. Horror is less scary with company. Okay, I'll tell you a story actually. What's it called now? God, I'm so bad at remembering names. The movie, it's Event Horizon. Scared the crap out of me. I was at a friend's house, and there were like, I don't know, a bunch of us, you know, and we were up drinking and whatever. And they put the movie on, and I'm thinking, okay, well, at least I'm with the guys, you know, like it's fine. And then everyone just starts falling asleep, and I look to my left, and Courtney's still awake, my mate Courtney, and I'm like, well, at least Courtney's awake. And then Courtney had fallen asleep, and this is back in the day, children, back in the day on the VHS. And it comes to the end of the film, right? And I don't know some of you have probably experienced VHS. Anyway, when the video stops, it just goes to static on the screen. And I think I sat there for 40 minutes, maybe longer, just with the static until it got light. And then I left because I didn't want to go home in the dark. And then I realised halfway home that I'd forgotten my bag, so I went back and went because I was just scared witless. I do not do horror well. Some of us are not much younger. I know, but for the youngsters out there, VHS was classic. The static, yeah, almost as scary as the movie itself, right? Especially after a thing like that. Anyway, are you scared of a movie? Oh yeah, Alien scared the crap out of me. Absolutely. I mean, that is a super tense movie. And that is a sci-fi horror, I believe. Is it not? I don't know what else it's classed as, but it's definitely a sci-fi horror. Okay, I see, Debbie. All right, yeah. I am young and still remember VHS. Well, okay. But some people haven't, you know, that's the thing. I mean, we all kind of know about it. I think it's still kind of within common culture, isn't it? But going down to Blockbuster to rent films and... I don't know. It was a different time. Horror is your favourite genre. Good for you. More for you then, Alison. Hey, Shah Kashmir. First time chat. Nice to see you. You're 22 and you had VHS tapes. Sweet. Bring it back, I say. I was teaching a student. He's 14 years old. He's got 700 DVDs at home. I'm like, fair play to you, lad. Fair play. Get in. I said, how many have you watched? And he said, 400. He's 14. He's seen films that I haven't seen. I'm like, anyway. All right. The dog and Mrs. Dadzig have moved next door, which is a shame. Anyway, we'll work it out next time. I still collect CDs. Physical media is the best. Yeah, I think we should go back to it. Screw these guys, honestly. Screw it. We already have a Christmas tree. Oh, yeah, this is only last weekend. Some people start way early in Prague. Some people start way early. Yeah. Dog cam when later. You can get a bit of dog later. Physical media, no more smart objects. Oh yeah, get rid of those as well. I'm not a Luddite. I do like being able to look up factoids on the internet, but the overwhelming observation of things around you. Why does your fridge need Wi-Fi? You know what I mean? What's all of that about? Anyway, like those fridges that play ads. Right. What is that? My dad, Christmas Eve, sure, I get that. Some people have that tradition. Yeah. Need to play Skyrim on the fridge while you're. Well, actually, wouldn't it make more sense to have it over the cooker? Because you spend more time at the cooker than the fridge. 24th, okay. Photos on the wall. There's some different things. It's some posters, some artwork. It's like a postcard of 3 guys dressed as ballerinas. Yeah. You sleep in the fridge. Good. Well done. Foreign cartoons. Yeah, nice. That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, my gramps, he put together 2 5-hour VHS tapes of Tom and Jerry and Daffy Duck and all that kind of stuff. I mean, this is like you had to sit down and record them, right? Which was amazing. And me and my bro, we used to watch that all the time. That's a cool thing to do. I like when I got a bit older, and I realised he'd done that for us. Like how much effort would it take taken? I was like, oh, fair play, dude. This stream is relaxing. You're getting promoted to the big screen. Am I now? All right. Cactalia's Pricky Triangle. Do you need a separate room? Just saying. Oh no. Oh yeah, that's the other thing though. Wie ist meine Meinung zu Glühwein? I like mulled wine. It has its place. I'm not like crazy bad for it, but I think it's nice. Okay, the dog is trying to bust in. Ladies and gentlemen, we shall start. I hope you're sitting comfortably. We will start with The Mask of the Red Death. The Red Death had long devastated the country. No pestilence had ever been so fatal or so hideous. Blood was its avatar and its seal. The redness and the horror of blood. There were sharp pains and sudden dizziness, and then profuse bleeding at the pores with dissolution. The scarlet stains upon the body, and especially upon the face of the victim, were the pest ban which shut him out from the aid and from the sympathy of his fellow men. And the whole seizure, progress, and termination of the disease were the incidents of half an hour. But the Prince Prospero was happy and dauntless and sagacious. When his dominions were half depopulated, he summoned to his presence 1,000 hale and light-hearted friends from among the knights and dames of his court, and with these retired to the deep seclusion of one of his castellated abbeys. This was an extensive and magnificent structure, the creation of the prince's own eccentric yet august taste. A strong and lofty wall girdled it. This wall had gates of iron. The courtiers, having entered, brought furnaces and massy hammers and welded the bolts. They resolved to leave means neither of ingress nor egress to the sudden impulses of despair or of frenzy from within. The abbey was amply provisioned. With such precautions, the courtiers might bid defiance to contagion. The external world could take care of itself. In the meantime, it was folly to grieve or think. The prince had provided all the appliances of pleasure. There were bouffons, there were improvisatori, there were ballet dancers, there were musicians, there was beauty, there was wine. All these and security were within. Without was the Red Death. It was towards the close of the 5th or 6th month of his seclusion, and while the pestilence raged most furiously abroad, that the Prince Prospero entertained his 1,000 friends at a masked ball of the most unusual magnificence. It was a voluptuous scene, that masquerade, but first let me tell you of the rooms in which it was held. There were 7, an imperial suite. In many palaces, however, such suites form a long and straight vista, while the folding doors slide back nearly to the walls on either hand, so that the view of the whole extent is scarcely impeded. Here, the case was very different, as might have been expected from the Duke's love of the bizarre. The apartments were so irregularly disposed that the vision embraced but little more than one at a time. There was a sharp turn at every 20 or 30 yards, and at each a turn a novel effect. To the right and left, in the middle of each wall, a tall and narrow Gothic window looked out upon a closed corridor, which pursued the windings of the suite. These windows were of stained glass, whose colour varied in accordance with the prevailing hue of the decorations of the chamber into which it was opened. That at the eastern extremity was hung, for example, in blue, and vividly blue were its windows. The second chamber was purple in its ornaments and tapestries, and here the panes were purple. The third was green throughout, and so were the casements. The fourth was furnished and lighted with orange. The fifth was white, the sixth with violet. The seventh apartment was closely shrouded in black velvet tapestries that hung all over the ceiling and down the walls, falling in heavy folds upon a carpet of the same material and hue. But in this chamber only, the colour of the windows failed to correspond with the decorations. The panes here were scarlet, a deep blood colour. Now, in no one of the 7 apartments was there any lamp or candelabrum, amid the profusion of golden ornaments that lay scattered to and fro or depended from the roof. There was no light of any kind emanating from lamp or candle within the suite of chambers. But in the corridors that followed the suite there stood, opposite to each window, a heavy tripod, bearing a brazier fire, that projected its rays through the tinted glass, and so glaringly illumined the room. And thus were produced a multitude of gaudy and fantastic appearances. But in the western or black chamber, the effect of the firelight that streamed upon the dark hangings through the blood-tinted panes was ghastly in the extreme, and produced so wild a look upon the countenances of those who entered that there were few of the company bold enough to set foot within its precincts at all. It was in this apartment also that there stood against the western wall a gigantic clock of ebony. Its pendulum swung to and fro with a dull, heavy, monotonous clang. And when the minute hand had made the circuit of the face and the hour was to be stricken, there came from the brazen lungs of the clock a sound which was clear and loud and deep and exceedingly musical, but of so peculiar a note and emphasis that at each lapse of an hour the musicians of the orchestra were constrained to pause momentarily in their performance to hearken to the sound. And thus the waltzers perforce ceased their evolutions, and there was a brief disconcert of the whole gay company, and while the chimes of the clock yet rang, it was observed that the giddiest grew pale, and the more aged and sedate passed their hands over their brows as if in confusion, reverie, or meditation. But when the echoes had fully ceased, a light laughter at once pervaded the assembly. The musicians looked at each other and smiled as if it was their own nervousness and folly, and made whispering vows, each to the other, that the next chiming of the clock should produce in them no similar emotion. And then, after the lapse of 60 minutes, which embrace 3,600 seconds of the time that flies, there came yet another chiming of the clock, and then with the same disconcert and tremulousness and meditation as before. But in spite of these things, it was a gay and magnificent revel. The tastes of the Duke were peculiar. He had a fine eye for colours and effects. He disregarded the decora of mere fashion. His plans were bold and fiery, and his conceptions glowed with barbaric lustre. There are some who would have thought him mad. His followers felt that he was not. It was not necessary to hear and see and touch him to be sure that he was not. He had directed in great part the movable embellishments of the 7 chambers upon occasion of this great fête, and it was his own guiding taste which had given character to the masqueraders, Be sure they were grotesque. There were much glare and glitter and piquancy and phantasm, much of what has since been seen in the Hernani. There were arabesque figures with unsuited limbs and appointments. There were delirious fancies such as the madmen fashions. There were much of the beautiful, much of the wanton, much of the bizarre, something of the terrible, and not a little of that which might have excited disgust. To and fro in the 7 chambers there stalked, in fact, a multitude of dreams. And these, the dreams, writhed in about, taking hue from the rooms, and causing the wild music of the orchestra to seem as the echo of their steps. And anon there strikes the ebony clock, which stands in the hall of velvet. And then, for a moment, all is still, and all is silent, save the voice of the clock. The dreams are stiff frozen as they stand, but the echoes of the chime die away. They've endured but an instant. And a light, half-subdued laughter floats after them as they depart. And now again the music swells, and the dreams live and writhe to and fro more merrily than ever, taking hue from the many-tinted windows through which stream the rays from the tripods. But to the chamber which lies most westwardly of the 7, there are now none of the maskers who venture, for night is waning away, and there flows a ruddier light through the blood-coloured panes, and the blackness of the sable drapery appalls. And to him whose foot falls upon the sable carpet, there comes from the near clock of ebony a muffled peal, more solemnly emphatic than any which reaches their ears, who indulge in the more remote gaieties of the other apartments. But these other apartments were densely crowded, and in them beat feverishly the heart of life, and the revel went whirlingly on, until at length there commenced the sounding of midnight upon the clock. And then the music ceased, as I have told, and the evolutions of the waltzes were quieted, and there was an uneasy cessation of all things as before. But now there were 12 strokes to be sounded by the bell of the clock, and thus it happened, perhaps, that more of the thought crept with more time into the meditations of the thoughtful among those who revelled, and thus too it happened, perhaps, that before the last echoes of the last chime had utterly sunk into silence, there were many individuals in the crowd who had found leisure to become aware of the presence of a masked figure, which had arrested the attention of no single individual before. And the rumour of this new presence having spread itself whisperingly around, there arose at length from the whole company a buzz or murmur, expressive of disapprobation and surprise, and then finally of terror, of horror, and of disgust. In an assembly of phantasms, such as I have painted, it may well be supposed that no ordinary appearance could have excited such sensation. In truth, the masquerade licence of the night was nearly unlimited, but the figure in question had out-Heroded Herod, and gone beyond the bounds of even the prince's indefinite decorum. There are chords in the hearts of the most reckless which cannot be touched without emotion, even with the utterly lost, to whom life and death are equally jests. There are matters of which no jest can be made. The whole company, indeed, seemed now deeply to feel that in the costume and bearing of the stranger neither wit nor propriety existed. The figure was tall and gaunt, and shrouded from head to foot in the habiliments of the grave. The mask which concealed the visage was made so clearly to resemble the countenance of a stiffened corpse that the closest scrutiny must have had difficulty in detecting the cheat. And yet all this might have been endured, if not approved, by the mad revellers around. But the mummer had gone so far as to assume the type of the Red Death. His vesture was dabbled in blood. His broad brow, with all the features of the face, was besprinkled with the scarlet horror. When the eyes of Prince Prospero fell upon this spectral image, which, with a slow and solemn movement, as if more fully to sustain its role, stalked to and fro among the waltzers, he was seen to be convulsed. In the first moment with a strong shudder, either of terror or distaste, but in the next, his brow reddened with rage. "Who dares?" he demanded hoarsely of the courtiers who stood near him. "Who dares insult us with this blasphemous mockery? Seize him and unmask him, that we may know whom we have to hang at sunrise from the battlements." It was in the eastern, or blue chamber, in which stood the Prince Prospero as he uttered these words. They rang throughout the 7 rooms loudly and clearly, for the prince was a bold and robust man, and the music had become hushed at the waving of his hand. It was in the blue room where stood the prince, with a group of pale courtiers by his side. At first, as he spoke, there was a slight rushing movement of his group in the direction of the intruder, who at that moment was also near at hand, and now, with deliberate, stately step, made closer approach to the speaker. But from a certain nameless awe with which the mad assumptions of the mummer had inspired the whole party, there were none who put forth hand to seize him, so that, unimpeded, he passed within a yard of the prince's person, and while the vast assembly, as if with one impulse, shrank from the centres of the rooms to the walls, he made his way uninterruptedly, but with the same solemn and measured step which had distinguished him from the first, through the blue chamber to the purple, through the purple to the green to the orange, through this again to the white, and even thence to the violet, ere he decided movement had been made to arrest him. It was then, however, that the Prince Prospero, maddening with rage and with the shame of his own momentary cowardice, rushed hurriedly through the 6 chambers, while none followed him on account of a deadly terror that seized upon all. He bore aloft a drawn dagger, and had approached in rapid impetuosity within 3 or 4 feet of the retreating figure, when the latter, having attained the extremity of the velvet apartment, turned suddenly and confronted the pursuer. There was a sharp cry, and the dagger dropped gleaming upon the sable carpet, upon which, instantly afterward, fell prostrate in death the Prince Prospero. Then, summoning the wild courage of despair, a throng of the revellers at once threw themselves into the black apartment, and seizing the mummer, whose tall figure stood erect and motionless within the shadow of the ebony clock, gasped in unutterable horror at finding the grave cerements and corpse-like mask, which they handled with so violent a rudeness, untenanted by any tangible form. And now was acknowledged the presence of the Red Death. He had come like a thief in the night, and one by one dropped the revellers in the blood-bedewed halls of their revel, and died each in the despairing posture of his fall, and the life of the ebony clock went out with that of the last of the gay, and the flames of the tripods expired, and darkness and decay and the Red Death held illimitable dominion over all. Dun, dun, dun. Ah, it's so much fun. Oh. Boom. You missed your favourite story. Oh, damn, Ellie. Don't worry, it'll be on YouTube. It'll be up on YouTube. I will put it there with the other ones as well. Yeah. I know. I did the whole story without a single... Yeah, it's only a few pages. Where do we go from 269 to 273? Banger. 5 pages. Look at that. Yes. There's some great sentences in that one. Okay. So, good evening, Fletcher. How did the training go? Excuse me, I'm burping now, but that's what comes with beer, isn't it? No bosoms in that one, though. Not my favourite. Sorry, Valeria. You can just imagine. There were a lot of people dancing in all kinds of wild costumes. I'm sure there was a lot of bosom and maybe some butts. And probably some midriff, necks, ankles, you know. Everyone's commenting on the tree. Mrs. Dadzig, we did a good job on the tree. All right, how are we looking? How long is this one? Oh, that's short as well. I'll tell you what we'll do. Because it is only 9 o'clock. Okay, I think we're going to get through a few stories tonight. Let's have a little chat, and then we're going to go with the cask of Amontillado, because somebody asked for that earlier. And then after that, we'll go Telltale Heart, which are all quite short. So if there's any others, shorter ones, that you might like, or maybe we can do some of the poems as well. Actually, why don't we do a poem now? Should we have a poem? A poem and then another short story? Let's do that instead. I'm switching it up. I'm going all the way to the back. Miscellaneous poems. We did The Raven way back when, so we're not going to do that again tonight. Shall I read them out? Because if there's that's normally a good way to start, isn't it? With an index. Poems written in youth. Oh, bless. I'm sure they're banging. The Raven and Lenore we did last time. What about Him or A Valentine? Nope. Nobody from A Valentine? No, nobody. Did we even know what that is? Should we just give it a go? See what happens? Looks like a short one. We're going for that one. Oh, yeah, it's half a page. So let's go for that. We're just going to go through them in order, because here we go. But what is love? What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Can't sing. A Valentine. For her this rhyme is penned, whose luminous eyes, brightly expressive of the twins of Leda, shall find her own sweet name that nestling lies upon the page enwrapped from every reader. Search narrowly the lines, they hold a treasure, divine, a talisman, an amulet. They must be worn at heart. Search well the measure, the words, the syllables, do not forget. The trivialest point, or you may lose your labour, and yet there is in this no Gordian knot, which one might not undo without a sabre if one could merely comprehend the plot. And written upon the leaf where now are peering, eyes scintillating soul, there lies Perdus. 3 eloquent words oft uttered in the hearing of poets, by poets, as the name is a poet's too, in letters although naturally lying, like the knight Pinto, Mendes, Ferdinando, still form a synonym for truth, cease trying. You will not read the little riddle, though you do the best you can do. To translate the address, read the first letter of the first line in connection with the second letter of the second line, the third letter of the third line, the fourth. The name will appear. Oh my goodness. Hang on then. So can you help me out here? Somebody write these down. Read the first letter of the first line. First letter of the first line is F. Second letter of the second line is R. A. F-R-A. N. F-R-A-N. 1, 2, 3, 4. C. 2, 3, 4, 5. E. S. Francis. Okay, I guess that's Francis. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. S. A. Oh my god, I need a pencil. 8, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I. S. I. 6. R. Are we still Francis? Are we brothers? R. Are we still keeping up with this? I've lost where I'm at with the other letters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. G. G. 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. E. G. E. 4, 6, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. N. Almost there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. T. Are we still keeping up with this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. W? Or 14? Are we on the 14th line now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Sorry. O. It should be an O. Beg your pardon. O. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. S. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. G. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. O. Are we still keeping up with this? Oh my god. 5, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. O. O. Yeah, so that should be an O. 3, 7, 10, 14, 17, 18, 19, 20, and a D. Did anyone write those down? Or have we completely messed that up and nobody's writing it down? Francis Sergeant Osgood. Whee, get in. Who's that then? Who is Francis Sergeant Osgood? Sergeant Osgood. I mean, I might have got some of those wrong, bear in mind. And so now, can somebody look that up then? And that was, God, that was a bit of an adventure. Look at you, Edgar Allan Poe, putting a little code in your poems, cheeky. Some geezer, well, obviously, an American poet. She's an American poet. Frances, not Francis. Ah. That is really cool, isn't it? Wow. Nice one. She's from Boston like you. Sexist father. Why is that sex? What have I done now? What, because of the spelling? Well, it's typically how it goes. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I'm not up on my poets, as you can tell. All right. Okay. Well, that was a little break there from the story. So we'll get back to the old barrel of the cask of Amontillado. Yeah, look, I probably got some of the wrong letters. It was, I mean, I was trying to count it. I didn't have a pencil here to help me out, and I probably maybe got some because it was the second letter of the second line, fifth letter of the fifth line, right? But we got it, didn't we? So Francis Sergeant Osgood. All right. Bernice is the favourite of Poe's short stories. All right, we're going to have to put some kind of list together here, I guess. A lot of other male poets would routinely flirt with her through their poems. Did she flirt back, is the question. And if not, Good for her. I will begin. So flirting with her was like a meme, probably. All right, I will begin now. The cask of Amontillado. The 1,000 injuries of Fortunato I had borne as best I could, but when he ventured upon insult, I vowed revenge. You, who so well know the nature of my soul, will not suppose, however, that I gave utterance to a threat. At length I would be avenged. This was a point definitively settled, but the very definitiveness which it was resolved precluded the idea of risk. I must not only punish, but punish with impunity. A wrong is unredressed when retribution overtakes its redresser. It is equally unredressed when the avenger fails to make himself felt as such to him who has done the wrong. It must be understood that neither by word nor deed had I given Fortuno cause to doubt my goodwill. I continued, as was my wont, to smile in his face, and he did not perceive that my smile now was at the thought of his immolation. He had a weak point, this Fortunato, although in other regards he was a man to be respected and even feared. He prided himself on his connoisseurship in wine. Few Italians have the true virtuoso spirit. For the most part, their enthusiasm is adopted to suit the time and opportunity to practice imposture upon the British and Austrian millionaires. In painting and gemmery, Fortunato, like his countrymen, was a quack. But in the matter of old malt wines, he was sincere. In this respect, I did not differ from him materially. I was skilful in the Italian vintages myself, and bought largely whenever I could. It was about dusk, one evening, during the supreme madness of the carnival season, that I encountered my friend. He accosted me with excessive warmth, for he'd been drinking much. The man wore motley. He had on a tight-fitting parti striped dress, and his head was surmounted by the conical cap and bells. I was so pleased to see him that I thought I should never have done wringing his hand. I said to him, "My dear Fortunato, you are luckily met. How remarkably well you are looking today. But I have received a pipe of what passes for Amontillado, and I have my doubts." "How?" he said. "Amontillado? A pipe? Impossible, and in the middle of the Carnival." "I have my doubts," I replied, "and I was silly enough to pay the full Amontillado price without consulting you in the matter. You were not to be found, and I was fearful of losing a bargain. Amontillado? I have my doubts. Amontillado? And I must satisfy them. Amontillado? As you are engaged, I am away to the Lucchesi. If anyone has a critical turn, it is he. He will tell me, Lucchesi cannot tell Amontillado from sherry. And yet some fools will have it that his taste is a match for your own. Come, let us go." "Whither?" "To your waltz." "My friend, no. I will not impose upon your good nature. I perceive you have an engagement. Lucchesi—" "I have no engagement. Come." "My friend, no. It is not the engagement, but the severe cold with which I perceive you are afflicted. The vaults are insufferably damp. They are encrusted with nitre." "Let us go, nevertheless. The cold is merely nothing. Amontillado you've been imposed upon, and as for Lucchesi, he cannot distinguish sherry from Amontillado." Thus speaking, Fortunato possessed himself of my arm, putting on a mask of black silk and drawing a roquelaire closely about my person. I suffered him to hurry me to my palazzo. There were no attendants at home. They had absconded to make merry in the honour of time. I had told them that I should not return until the morning, and had given them explicit orders not to stir from the house. These orders were sufficient, I well knew, to ensure their immediate disappearance, one and all, as soon as my back was turned. I took from their sconces 2 flambeurs, and giving one to Fortunato, bowed him through several suites of rooms to the archway that led into the vaults. I passed down a long and winding staircase, requesting him to be cautious as he followed. We came at length to the foot of the descent, and stood together on the damp ground of the catacombs of the Montresors. The gait of my friend was unsteady, and the bells upon his cap jingled as he strode. The pipe, he said. It is further on, I said. But observe the white webwork which gleams from these cavern walls. He turned toward me and looked into my eyes with two filmy orbs that distilled the rheum of intoxication. Nitre? He asked at length. Nitre, I replied. How long have you had that cough? My poor friend found it impossible to reply for many minutes. It is nothing, he said at last. Come, I said with decision. We will go back. Your health is precious. You are rich, respected, admired, beloved. You are happy as once I was, and you are a man to be missed. For me it is no matter. We will go back. You will be ill, and I cannot be responsible. Besides, there is Lucchesi. Enough, he said. This cough is a mere nothing. It will not kill me. I shall not die of a cough. True, I replied. And indeed I had no intention of alarming you unnecessarily, but you should use all proper caution. A draught of this Medoc will defend us from the damps. Here I knocked off the neck of a bottle which I drew from a long row of his fellows that lay upon the mould. Drink, I said, presenting him the wine. He raised it to his lips with a leer. He paused and nodded to me familiarly while his bells jingled. I drink, he said, to the buried that repose around us, and I to your long life. He again took my arm, and we proceeded. These vaults, he said, are extensive. Oh, the Montresors, I replied, were a great and numerous family. I forget your arms. A huge human foot d'or in a field azure. The foot crushes a serpent rampant whose fangs are embedded in the heel. And the motto? Nemo me impune lacessit. Good, he said. The wine sparkled in his eyes and the bells jingled. My own fancy grew warm with the Medoc. We had passed through walls of piled bones with casks and puncheons interminglingly into the innermost recesses of the catacombs. I paused again, and this time I made bold to seize Fortunato by the arm above the elbow. The nitre, I said. It increases. It hangs like moss upon the vaults. We are below the river's bed. The drops of moisture trickle among the bones. Come, we will go back ere it is too late. Your cough. It is nothing, he said. Let us go on, but first, another draught of the Medoc. I broke and reached him a flagon of de Grave. He emptied at a breath. His eyes flashed with fierce light. He laughed and threw the bottle upward with a gesticulation I did not understand. I looked at him in surprise. He repeated the movement, a grotesque one. You do not comprehend, he said. Not I replied. Then you are not of the Brotherhood. How? You are not of the Masons. Yes, I said. Yes. You? Impossible? A Mason? A Mason, I replied. A sign. It is this, I answered, producing a trowel from beneath the folds of my roquelaire. You jest, he exclaimed, recoiling a few paces, but let us proceed to the Amontillado. Be it so, I said, replacing the tool beneath the cloak and again offering him my arm. He leaned upon it heavily. We continued our route in the search of the Amontillado. We passed through a range of low arches, descended, passed on, and descending again, arrived at a deep crypt, in which the foulness of the air caused our flambeau rather to glow than flame. At the most remote end of the crypt there appeared another less spacious. Its walls had been lined with human remains, piled to the vault overhead in the fashion of the great catacombs of Paris. 3 sides of this interior crypt were still ornamented in this manner. From the 4th, the bones had been thrown down and lay promiscuously upon the earth, forming at one point a mound of some size. Within the wall, thus exposed by the displacing of the bones, we perceived a still interior recess, in depth about 4 feet, in width 3, and height 6 or 7. It seemed to have been constructed for no special use within itself, but formed merely the interval between 2 of the colossal supports of the roof of the catacombs, and was backed by one of their circumscribing walls of solid granite. It was in vain that Fortunato, uplifting his dull torch, endeavoured to pry into the depths of the recess. Its termination the feeble light did not enable us to see. "Proceed," I said. "Herein is the Amontillado. As for Lucchesi—" "He is an ignoramus," interrupted my friend as he stepped unsteadily forward, while I followed immediately at his heels. In an instant he had reached the extremity of the niche, and finding his progress arrested by the rock, stood stupidly bewildered. A moment more, and I had fettered him to the granite. In its surface were 2 iron staples, distant from about each other 2 feet horizontally. From one of these depended a short chain, from the other a padlock. Throwing the links about his wrist, it was but work of a few seconds to secure it. He was too much astounded to resist. Withdrawing the key, I stepped back from the recess. "Pass your hand," I said, "over the wall. You cannot help feeling the nitre. It is indeed very damp. Once more let me implore you to return. No? Then I must positively leave you, but I must first render you all the little attention in my power." "The Amontillado!" ejaculated my friend, not yet recovered from his astonishment. "True," I replied, "the Amontillado." As I said these words, I busied myself among the pile of bones of which I have before spoken. Throwing them aside, I soon uncovered a quantity of building stone and mortar. With these materials, and with the aid of my trowel, I began vigorously to wall up the entrance of the niche. I had scarcely laid the first tier of the masonry when I discovered that the intoxication of Fortunato had in a great measure worn off. The earliest indication I had of this was a low, moaning cry from the depth of the recess. It was not the cry of a drunken man. There was then a long and obstinate silence. I laid the second tier, and the third, and the fourth, and then I heard the furious vibrations of the chain. The noise lasted for several minutes, during which, that I might hearken to it with more satisfaction, I ceased my labours and sat down upon the bones. When at last the clanking subsided, I resumed the trowel and finished without interruption the 5th, the 6th, and the 7th tier. The wall was now nearly upon a level with my breast. I again paused, and holding the flambeau above the masonry work, threw a few feeble rays upon the figure within. A succession of loud and shrill screams, bursting suddenly from the throat of the chained form, seemed to thrust me violently back. For a brief moment I hesitated, I trembled, and sheathing my rapier, I began to grope with it about the recess, but the thought of an instant reassured me. I placed my hand upon the solid fabric of the catacombs, and felt satisfied. I reapproached the wall, I replied to the yells of him who clamoured, I re-echoed, I aided, I surpassed them in volume and in strength. I did this, and the clamourer grew still. It was now midnight, and my task was drawing to a close. I had completed the 8th, the 9th, and the 10th tier. I had finished a portion of the last and the 11th, and there remained but a single stone to be fitted and plastered in. I struggled with its weight. I placed it impartially in its destined position. But now there came from out the niche a low laugh that erected the hairs upon my head. It was succeeded by a sad voice, which I had difficulty in recognizing as that of the noble Fortunato. The voice said, "A very good joke indeed, an excellent jest. Oh, we will have many a rich laugh about it at the palazzo, over our wine." "The Amontillado," I said. Yes, yes, yes. The Amontillado. But is it not getting late? Will they not be waiting for us at the Palazzo, the Lady Fortunato and the rest? Let us be gone. Yes, I said, let us be gone. For the love of God, Montresor. Yes, I said, for the love of God. But to these words I hearkened in vain for a reply. I grew impatient. I called aloud, Fortunato. No answer. I called again, Fortunato. No answer still. I thrust a torch through the remaining aperture and let it fall within. There came forth in return only a jingling of the bells. My heart grew sick on account of the dampness of the catacombs. I hastened to make an end of my labour. I forced the last stone into its position. I plastered it up. Against the new masonry I re-erected the old rampart of bones. For the half of the century no mortal has disturbed them. In pace requiescat. Well, categories. Dark. Hang on, who said they didn't like what? What? What do you mean you didn't like the previous one? Oh, Valeria. I'm drinking Radagast Pivo. Deceitku. Oh, the accent. Hey, scusi. We got an amazing performance from Super Mario. Blue, blue, blue. Back to reality, back to... He's trying here, don't bust his balls, alright? That's it. Be more Italian. Hey, so what kind of Italian is it do you want me to be? Come se dice? Come se dice? What is the next reading? I'm working in Milan all of January. Any recommendations? It's been a while since I've been there, but they have got the oldest rotunda in Europe, if you will. My stream, my rules. Okay. What is the next reading? We're going straight in with another poem, dears. We're going to go in with the Colosseum, but I'm not reading it as Valley Kill. All right. Drinking too much beer will make you rotunda. This is true, El Cannon. Absolutely. Talking of which, I need to get something else. I'm going to get myself a wee whiskey. All right, guys. So just bear with me a second. Sopping up some of that intoxicating litter. The Michi rules. I have 0 whiskey in the house. Well, whatever. Have you got anything else bubbling now? Whiskey, Francis Crozier mentioned. The mic is intense. I'll back off. Sorry. As I'm leaning forward. Utility whiskey. Nothing quite like it. Sláinte. It's better than the pain mic. We'll work it out. Alright, I guess this is about the Colosseum, guys. So, let's just bang in. Let's see what happens. Non-alcoholic mulled wine. That sounds great. Francis Rawdon Moira Crozier. So more pain. What does that mean, Valeria? Are you tempting me to do more Italian? Because it's the Colosseum. I'm not going to read this with an Italian accent. I'll do it in French. No, I'm going to do it in my British, innit? My best British. No, I dare you. I know. Not the Brabant. Okay. Are you ready? Okay, French. The Colosseum, type of the antique Rome, a rich reliquary of lofty contemplation left to time, by buried centuries of pomp and power, at length, after so many days of weary pilgrimage and burning thirst for the springs of laurel that lie in thee lie, I kneel, an altered and humble man, amid thy shadows, and so drink within my very soul thy grandeur, gloom, and glory. Vastness and age and memories of eld, silence and desolation and dim night. I feel you now, I feel you in your strength, of spells more sure than e'er Judean king taught in the gardens of Gethsemane, of charms more potent than the rapt Chaldee ever drew down from the quiet stars. Here, where a hero fell, a column falls, here where a mimic eagle glares in the gold, and midnight vigil owls the swell debate. Here where the dames of Rome in the gilded air wave to the wind, now wave the reed and thistle. Here and where on golden throne to the monocle old, glad spectre-like unto this marble home, leads by the one light of the horned moon, the swift and silent lizard of the stones. Oh, but stay, these walls, these ivy-clad arcades, these mouldering plinths, these sad and blackened shafts, these vague entablatures, this crumbling frieze, these shattered cornices, this wreck, this ruin, these stones, alas, these grey stones, are they all of the famed and the colossal left by the corrosive hours to fate and of me? Not all, the echoes answer me, not all. Prophetic sounds and loud arise forever from us, and all from ruin unto the wise, as melody from Memnon to the sun. We rule the hearts of the mightiest men. We rule, with a despotic sway, all giant minds. We are not impotent, we pallid stones. Not all our power is gone, not all our fame, not all the magic of our high renown, not all the wonder that encircles us, not all the mysteries that lie in us lie, not all the memories that hang upon and cling around about us as a garment, clothing us in a robe of more than glory. How's that? Yeah. You don't speak baguette. That's okay. You can just do a little bit of Françoise, isn't it? Not quite a Europe round trip. I need to work on that a bit more. I didn't go Sweden, did I? Can you do Finnish? Finnish is it, but I cannot read it for very long. And yeah, I just meld the Finns with the Scandies, unfortunately. So I guess I'll have to work on that. All right, folks. The German accent. You know what's quite funny, actually? Even though I'm originally from Germany, because I grew up in England, I had to relearn a German accent in English. Isn't that weird? Yeah. Finland. Suomalainen. Kiitos kypys. Just put extra vowels in even when they don't exist, right? Norwegian English is painful. No. Oh, thanks, Heinke. Heinke Pear. Do a Greek accent. Gyros. Do a Greek accent. I can't now. Sorry, my brain's frying a little bit. Texas or buckle. I'll lean more to Louisiana. I gotta be honest with you. Spanish. Spanish. You gotta start with the words Espanol. Hola. My name is Michael. I am from Barcelona. And no, be nice, please. And it is very nice to be here in. It's gone Italian again. I cannot help it, Valeria. I'm sorry. I'm stuck with it. It's what it is. It wasn't that hard. I just got my relatives to record some stuff for me. That was Drunk Alabama. We better get down as in Arkansas. We're going to get down somehow. And he's talking about, oh, I'm going to and I slapped him silly. As a Louisiana native, well, thank you very much, Eeyore. I'll take it. I'll take it. All right, on with our next story. Does anybody have any requests, by the way? Oh, Appalachian. I can't really. I mean, I'm not that definitive. I've tried. It's so subtle though, because if anybody who grows, lives in those parts of the states know that like you go one side of a hill to another, and there's very subtle variations on that, right? It's not like definitive. It's a little bit like in the UK. If you're not from there, we all sound like hobbits when you're from the West Country. But Stroud West Country accent is not the same as Bath. It's a bit different. They're all slightly in Bristol as well. Bristol rolls like that. Park the car in the Harvard. Yeah, Boston. Mr. Mayor, Madam Councilman, I would like to talk to you about the parks. We want to read the recreation area and the parks. I know it's awful. Okay, please do not what? I've got a cheers here. Sorry, guys. Cheers.
Mango pie?
How long is Ligea? Is that a story, Alison, or is that something? Is that something else? Skull. Yeah, right. There's a lot of Appalachian accents, but that's kind of the fun of it. It's one of Poe's stories. All right, well, let's have a Ligea. It's fun. I mean, I should probably spend a little bit more time on it, really, because I do enjoy it. Ligea, 6, 7. Yeah, it's a bit longer. That one's 11 pages, so it's twice the length of everything we've been reading tonight. Let me see how drunk I get. I'm getting tipsy on 2 drinks. Oh my god. Stop. Anyway, request was made for The Telltale Heart. So that's what we're going to go through next. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, lords and ladies, hounds and houndesses. Oh, don't start with that, with the 6, 7 shit, honestly. No, don't Google it. It's a complete bit of nonsense monster. I saw a video about it last night. If you want to go down some rabbit hole about it, you might look into some CIA experiments and what's 6-7. But anyway, that's a complete rabbit hole. He's a teacher after all. He has to deal with this enough. Oh no, no, no! I don't teach kids. Thank goodness. No, not like that. Yeah, it's just one of those phenomena that's passing through that really it's enough to be aware of it and just kind of go, okay, fine, it'll be something else in 6 months. Yeah, as a short basketball player. Chat is above Gen Alpha humour. Thank you. They'll learn. They're still young. The word choice. There we go. Yes, that's the thing. Talking about accents, I never got to because where I grew up in England is in Gloucestershire, and it's quite interesting how varied the accents are there because there's a lot of very posh people there, right? And I'm speaking to you with what would be called received pronunciation, wherewith actors try to make themselves understood, and that was the concept with the invention of the radio being that Gloucester is very varied, that basically everybody could understand the English accent, but it was actually a completely made up thing, which is why it's called received pronunciation, because there's nobody who inherently has that, apart from maybe it has similarities to the aristocrats. Hyacinth buckets, exactly, hyacinth bouquet. Well, I tend to have a little bit. People who know the West Country, they'll hear that there's a bit of West Country, so it'll roll a little bit more, should we say? But here's the thing: it's so it's so varied there because there's like the working class. They have that very West Country accent, as you might expect from hobbits, is like that, right? I mean, there was a guy I knew whose name was Leaky Steve. He was a plumber, right? There we go, a bit of humour in his name, Leaky Steve. And he would talk like that a long time. Oh, Michael, how you doing there, mate? I was just down at Karen's house earlier. I'm going to fix her pipe for her, isn't it? Yeah, here's to Leaky Steve, actually. He passed away this year. Leaky, wherever you are, hope you're fixing up God's plumbing. Or fitting the sprinkler system down below, as is your want. But there's a woman... As there we go, that's a word choice, right? As she moved from London, right? She moved from London in the 1960s, and in London, how many accents are there in London, right? They all sound the same to anybody who's not from London. And she sat next to this girl at school, and she wrote in the newspaper. See, this is like 20 years ago. She said, "I sat next to this girl, and for 6 months we couldn't understand what we were saying." Because their accents were so different. So it's dialects, isn't it? It's not just accents, it's dialects, and this is where the word choice comes in. As you're saying, yeah, English certainly isn't standardized, and it's actually a bastard language, more so than many others, which is why there's so many words in it, because it's borrowed and has come from so many different things, and it's constantly changing language. It should constantly change. You know, you have people who argue against pidgin English being a real form of English. It's like, what bollocks is that? What does that mean? If you're talking it and you can communicate and people understand you, then it's a language, isn't it? It's like Queen's English. Okay, go shove it up your ass. You go, ass. Stealing words and art since ever, yeah. Moravians have a really beautiful Czech. I'm sorry. I actually, when I first moved to the Czech Republic, I found Moravians way easier to understand than Praguers, and even Slovaks actually. Not so much Eastern Slovak, where it leans more towards, let's say, Eastern European accent. But no, Moravians have very beautiful Czech, and if they're not speaking dialect, actually, in terms of the sound of it, the Silesians, but they have a proper dialect up there. That's a different thing. Does Logan have a Leicester accent? Not really, because he's kind of mediated it as well. See, because he's an actor. But you can hear it if you know in the word endings. Yeah. All right. Oh yeah, Germany, Austria. Oh my God, I did. Yeah, the Tiroler Deutsch. My, that's not even German. Yeah, yeah, yes, absolutely. Pidgin English, and then of course there's what do they call it now? The MLA or something like that, modern London accent, right? And the variations of that, because you know you've got the Cockney geezer. All right, mate, come down the East End and all that. But then you've got the Jamaican community, other parts of the Caribbean. You've got people from Africa, East and West Coast. You've got North Africa. Like London is a melting pot, right? Pakistani communities, Indian communities, and they all add their flavour. So you've got English with Jamaican, Pakistani patois from one part of London, and endlessly fascinating thing. Yeah. So there it is. Estuary, exactly. Estuary. Let's talk about that real quick, actually, and then we'll get to the Telltale Heart. So estuary English is anything on the River Thames going up from London. And I was in Essex, 2006, I think it was, and going to a bronze foundry, working for my boss, and stayed in this bed and breakfast pub, and I went down for a pint in the evening because I drove there that day and had a night over, whatever. And I went down to the pub, and there were 4 guys in the bar, the barman and 3 customers, and the one geezer had a proper Essex accent. It was Braintree in Essex, and they talked like that because they're basically after the Second World War, or during the Second World War, a lot of them like escaping London, getting out from the bombing from the East End because it was getting bombed. And then there was this old farmer, and he was talking like that the whole time, and having an accent like that. And I thought, that's really interesting. So anyway, I eventually got myself in the conversation. And I said, do you mind me asking, where's your accent from? Because it doesn't sound very Essex. And his response was, oh no, that's how we all used to talk there before they came up from London. So basically, that London accent was very concentrated. The Thames accent was very concentrated up until the Second World War. And then because of the war, it got pushed out, basically. So actually, the original Essex accent and the countryside accent in most parts of England, at least, was more like Hobbits'. And then, of course, you can say, well, where does that come from? It has Germanic roots, right? Common people were Saxons. They weren't the Normans. The Normans speaking French, the Saxons, and they were speaking a form of Middle German that came from Old German, transplanted itself and wended its way and mixed with the Celtic and whatever else. And yeah, there we go. Hobbits is. But we all know they're from Gloucestershire. Whatever else anybody says, they'll try and tell you up in Herefordshire that's Hobbits is from Herefordshire, but they're talking out their ass. They don't know nothing. All right. Normans would have been the lords. Then they still are, darlings. They still are. Nothing has changed since 1066, but let's not go on to that. All right. Dear friends, let me drink more beer because it seems appropriate. Herefordshire is the most rural English county. Also has some really awesome churches. If you're into older architecture, there's some very interesting churches on the Welsh border. What's that? Four heads are better than one. What was they talking? If there's no bosoms will riot. Mars, are there bosoms in the Telltale Heart? Hampshire. Ah, right. Probably good, but it's the gentrification, isn't it? Um, there's a lot to do with that, and I imagine probably it's a lot to do with people getting out of London as well. Add some flavour. I will add some flavour. I'm going to sneak some bosoms in there. Okay. The Telltale Heart. True, nervous, very, very dreadfully nervous I had been and am, but will you say that I am mad? The disease had sharpened my senses, not destroyed, not dulled them. Above all was the sense of my hearing acute. I heard all things in heaven and in earth. I heard many things in hell. How then am I mad? Hearken and observe how healthily, how calmly I can tell you the whole story. It is impossible to say how first the idea entered my brain, but once conceived it haunted me day and night. Object there was none, passion there was none. I loved the old man. He had never wronged me. He had never given me insult. For his gold I had no desire. I think it was his eye. Yes, it was this. One of his eyes resembled that of a vulture, a pale blue eye with a film over it. Whenever it fell upon me, my blood ran cold. And so by degrees, very gradually, I made up my mind to take the life of the old man and thus rid myself of the eye forever. Now, this is the point. You fancy me mad. Bosom madmen know nothing, but you should have seen me. You should have seen how wisely I proceeded with what caution, with what foresight, with what dissimulation I went to work. I was never kinder to the old man than during the whole week before I killed him. And every night, about midnight, I turned the latch of his door and opened it, oh, so gently. And then, when I had made an opening sufficient for my head, I put in a dark lantern, all closed, so that no light shone out, and then I thrust in my head. Oh, you would have laughed to see how cunningly I thrust it in. I moved it slowly, very slowly, so that I might not disturb the old man's sleep. It took me an hour to place my whole head within the opening, so far that I could see him as he lay upon his bed. Would a madman have been so wise as this? And then, when my head was well in the room, I undid the lantern cautiously. Oh, so cautiously, for the hinges creaked. I undid it just so much that a single thin ray fell upon the vulture eye. And this I did for 7 long nights, every night, just at midnight. But I found the eye always closed, and so it was impossible to do the work. For it was not the old man who vexed me, but his evil eye. And every morning, when the day broke, I went boldly into the chamber and spoke courageously to him, calling him by name in a hearty tone, and inquiring how he had passed the night. So you see, he would have been a very profound old man indeed to suspect that every night just at 12 I looked in upon him while he slept. Upon the 8th night I was more than usually cautious in opening the door. A watch's minute hand moves more quickly than did mine. Never before that night had I felt the extent of my own powers, of my sagacity. I could scarcely contain my feelings of triumph. To think that there I was, opening the door little by little, and he not even to dream of my secret deeds or thoughts. I fairly chuckled at the idea. And perhaps he heard me, for he moved on the bed suddenly as if startled. Now you may think that I drew back, but no. His room was black as pitch with a thick darkness, for the shutters were closed fast and through fear of robbers. And so I knew that he could not see the opening of the door, and I kept pushing on it, steadily. I had my head in, and was about to open the lantern, when my thumb slipped upon the tin fastening, and the old man sprang up in bed, crying out, "Who's there?" I kept quite still and said nothing. For a whole hour I did not move a muscle, and in the meantime I did not hear him lie down. He was still sitting in bed listening, just as I have done, night after night, hearkening to the death watches in the wall. Presently I heard a slight groan, and I knew it was the groan of mortal terror. It was not a groan of pain or of grief, oh no. It was the low, stifled sound that arises from the bottom of the soul when overcharged with awe. I knew the sound well. Many a night, just at midnight, when all the world slept, it has welled up from my own bosom, deepening with its dreadful echo the terrors that distracted me. I say I knew it well. I knew what the old man felt and pitied him, although I chuckled at heart. I knew that it had been lying awake ever since the first slight noise when he had turned in his bed. His fears had ever since been growing upon him. He had been trying to fancy them causeless, but could not. He had been saying to himself, "It is nothing but the wind in the chimney. It is only a mouse crossing the floor, or it is merely a cricket which has made a single chirrup." Yes, he's been trying to comfort himself with these suppositions, but he had found all in vain. All in vain. Because death, in approaching him, had stalked with his black shadow before him and enveloped the victim. And it was the mournful influence of the unperceived shadow that caused him to feel, although he neither saw nor heard, to feel the presence of my head within the room. When I had waited a long time, very patiently, without hearing him lie down, I resolved to open a very, very little crevice in the lantern. And so I opened it. You cannot imagine how stealthily, until at length a single dim ray, like the thread of a spider, shot out from the crevice and fell upon the vulture eye. It was open, wide open, and I grew furious as I gazed upon it. I saw it with perfect distinctness, all a dull blue, with a hideous veil all over it that chilled the very marrow in my bones. I could see nothing else of the old man's face or person, for I had directed the ray as if by instinct, precisely upon the down spot. And now, have I not told you that what you mistake for madness is but over-acuteness of the senses? Now I say, there came upon my ears a low, dull, quick sound, such as a watch makes when enveloped in cotton. I knew that sound all too well. It was the beating of the old man's heart. It increased my fury, as the beating of a drum stimulates the soldier into courage. But even yet I refrained and kept still. I scarcely breathed. I held the lantern motionless. I tried how steadily I could maintain the ray upon the eye. Meantime, the hellish tattoo of the heart increased. It grew quicker and louder every instant. The old man's terror must have been extreme. It grew louder. I say louder every moment. Do you mark me well? I've told you that I'm nervous, so I am, and now at the dead hour of night, amid the dreadful silence of that old house, so strange a noise as this excited me to uncontrollable terror. Yet, for some minutes longer I refrained and stood still. But the beating grew louder Louder. I thought the heart must burst. And now a new anxiety seized me. The sound would be heard by a neighbour. The old man's hour had come. With a loud yell, I threw open the lantern and leapt into the room. He shrieked once, only once. In that instant, I dragged him to the floor and pulled the heavy bed over him. I then smiled gaily to find the deed so far done, but for many minutes the heart beat on with a muffled sound. This, however, did not vex me. It would not be heard through the wall. At length it ceased. The old man was dead. I removed the bed and examined the corpse. Yes, he was stone dead. I placed my hand upon the heart and held it there for many minutes. There were no pulsations. He was stone dead. His eye would trouble me no more. If you still think me mad, you will think so no longer when I describe the wise precautions I took for the concealment of the body. The night waned, and I worked hastily but in silence. First of all, I dismembered the corpse. I cut off the head and the arms and the legs. And then I took up 3 planks from the flooring of the chamber and deposited all between the scantlings. I then replaced the board so cleverly, so cunningly, that no human eye, not even his, could have detected anything wrong. There was nothing to wash out, no stain of any kind, no blood spot whatever. I had been too wary for that. A tub had caught all. When I had made an end of these labours, it was 4 o'clock, still dark as midnight. As the bells sounded the hour, they came knocking at the street door. I went down to open it with a light heart, for what had I now to fear? There entered 3 men, who introduced themselves with perfect suavity as officers of the police. A shriek had been heard by a neighbour during the night. Suspicion of foul play had been aroused. Information had been lodged at the police office, and they, the officers, had been deputed to search the premises. I smiled. For what had I to fear? I bade the gentleman welcome. The shriek, I said, was my own in a dream. The old man, I mentioned, was absent in the country. I took my visitors all over the house. I bade them search well. I led them at length to his chamber. I showed them his treasures, secure, undisturbed. In the enthusiasm of my confidence, I brought chairs into the room and desired them here to rest from their fatigues, while I myself, in the wild audacity of my perfect triumph, placed my own seat upon the very spot beneath which reposed the corpse of the victim. The officers were satisfied. My manner had convinced them. I was singularly at ease. They sat, and while I answered cheerily, they chatted familiar things. But ere long I felt myself getting pale and wished them gone. My head ached, and I fancied a ringing in my ears, but still they sat and still chatted. The ringing became more distinct. It continued and became more distinct. I talked more freely to get rid of the feeling, but it continued and gained definitiveness, until at length I found that the noise was not within my ears. No doubt I now grew very pale, but I talked more fluently and with a heightened voice, yet the sound increased. What could I do? It was a low, dull, quick sound, much a sound as a watch makes when enveloped in cotton. I gasped for breath, and yet the officers heard it not. I talked more quickly, more vehemently, but the noise steadily increased. I arose and argued about trifles in a high key with the violent gesticulation, but the noise steadily increased. Why would they not be gone? I paced the floor to and fro with heavy strides, as if excited by fury to the observation of the men, but the noise steadily increased. Oh God, what could I do? I foamed, I raved, I swore. I swung the chair upon which I had been sitting and grated it upon the boards, but the noise... arose over all and continually increased. It grew louder, louder, louder. And still the men chatted pleasantly and smiled. Was it possible they heard not? Almighty God, no. They heard, they suspected, they knew. They were making a mockery of my horror. This, I thought, and this I think. But anything was better than this agony. Anything was more than tolerable than this derision. I could bear those hypocritical smiles no longer. I felt that I must scream or die, and now again, hark! Louder, louder, louder. Villains, I shrieked, dissemble no more. I admit the deed. Tear up the planks. Here, here. It is the beating of his hideous heart. My, that was a good one. That was The Telltale Heart. Tonight's dreams sorted. Yeah, time to watch a bit of stand-up comedy. Bill Bailey will do the trick. One more. Okay. You twist my arm. One more. The Little Book of Calm. Oh, we did the Cask of Amontillado just now. If you come in late, but you can check back on YouTube because it'll be up. Ligea was one, wasn't it? But I think we worked out it's probably a little bit too long for tonight. What else? We did read The Fall of the House of Usher, yes. That was last time. Eleonora is a love story and a short one. Is it now? Well, maybe that's the way we should end tonight. 5 pages. Let's do that. But before that, a poem. Oh, chat needs to be okay with that due to the... What? Eleonora? Hang on. 50 crowns for the poem. A poem. Oh, Black Cat, right. No, we will. But I think that's come up a few times actually as something that people would like to hear. Okay, so we got another one here to Francis, actually. Let's do another one to Francis, because it came up earlier. I'm almost out of alcohol, you guys. I might need to get myself a little drink here. And all hail Francis Crozier. Oh, sorry, tapping the mic. Get more whiskey. You know what I'm gonna get? I'm gonna get some of that mead from these guys. Biggin them up. Still got a little bit of that left. And that's what I'm going to do. So we're going to do a very short poem to Frances S. What was her middle name again? Sargent, right? Sergeant Ogsted. Ice wine. Oh yeah, man, that stuff's good. Osgood. He's good. He's good. He's Ebenezer Osgood. Yeah. Hello. Why are you still here, Frances Sergeant Osgood? It's a strange middle name for a lady, isn't it? But why not? Who cares? Mead is great. Bit too sweet sometimes, though. It's true. I have to say though, this stuff is awesome. The one hang on. Let me get it. This one's elderflower, which is a little on the sweeter side, but I have to say, my husband's great grandmother's middle name was Sergeant. Okay, it's Old French. All right. Elderflower's banging. Yes, definitely. In so many forms. It's one of my favourite things. Underrated, not by me. What's your opinion on Redbreast whiskey? Don't know that one. Yeah. Who cares? Middle name can be what it wants. You crave mead, but it's in the basement. I'm afraid of dark. Oh dear. Where is that basement? It's in Sweden, is it? You're from Sweden, right, Bublina? Or have I got that wrong? Lavender, rose, and violet are not great flavours. I'm sorry to disagree with you, monster. No. Okay. I can't get my head around. I'm working on it. What? Hang on. Why am I so bad at this? No, I have a glass here. Thank you, Mrs. Dadzig. Bublina's hanging around outside your window right now. Would I like a Canadian Riesling ice wine for Christmas, Michael? I'm coming to Prague next week. Let me think about that. Yes, please. Okay, I got it. I'm still struggling, guys. I have to be honest. I'm still struggling with names and faces, and sometimes putting it together. It's I am almost a boomer, aren't I? So drink it in one gulp. Look, I'm not a Viking. How uncouth. I will sip it gently like a true gentleman. I'll take a big sip though. Texas wine. Yeah? Oh, yeah. Yeah, let's try it. Pinky out, always. Loves it. Nah, it's not that. I've met a lot of you, I'm sure, if not all of you here on the stream, but it's like everyone's got different names on Facebook, and they're like in real life, and then like all their own. Fuck it, I'm adding liquor to my 6 p.m. coffee. I mean, you've got nowhere to drive and nowhere. Why not? Okay. Oh, DIY. Yeah. Facebook, yes, it's a thing that old people like me still use. If that's what you're implying. There's wine. No, Texas is huge, guys. There's a lot of different things in Texas. You'd be surprised. A lot of good music comes from Texas, not just the old I'm driving my truck down the road today. I'm gonna go home with the horn of pain. Do it, do it, do it, Alison. Do it. Facebook is where you search for lost media of all your favourite boomer actors. Oh, I love it. Yes, Austin, absolutely. Okay, guys. Time is marching on, and we're reaching that intersect on the graph where my abilities to sight read and alcohol intersect deleteriously. My improv skills not so much, but the reading might. All right. To Francis Sargent Osgood. Thou wouldst be love, then let thy heart from its present pathway part not, being everything which now thou art, being nothing which thou art not. So with the world thy gentle ways, thy grace, thy more than beauty, shall be an endless theme of praise, and love, a symbol duty. There we go. That is a poem. Hang on, what are we reading again? Oh, that's right. Love story. Eleanor. Is it really a love story, or am I being set up here? Huh? We're not reading Black Cat today. We're reading Eleonora. Because apparently we need...
Okay.
Apparently we need trigger warning for Black Cat, and then some people might not want to tune out. I'm being pressured here. Eleonora. That kind of love story. Mrs. Radzig just called us all pussies. Sorry, Mrs. Radzig, I'm sorry.
How?
Oh, we just get everyone's international booze at Ratai. Well, that would be good. You guys are funny. Oh, dude, house clouds. That sounds very interesting. Does it come in bottles? Are you going to bring like a crate? How does that work? Oh, Blue Moon. Blue Moon's a great beer.
I love Blue Moon.
Yes, Aquavit. Bring it on. Okay. Guys, I'm going to start with Eleonora. And here's my bad Latin. Some present wrapping going on here. Subconservazione formae specificae salva anima. Raymond Lully. I come of a race noted for vigour of fancy and ardour of passion. Men have called me mad. But the question is not yet settled whether madness is or is not the loftiest intelligence, whether much that is glorious, whether all that is profound, does not spring from the disease of thought, from moods of mind, exalted at the expense of the general intellect. They who dream by day are cognizant of many things which escape those who dream only by night. In their grey visions they obtain glimpses of eternity and thrill in waking to find that they have been upon the verge of the great secret. In snatches they learn something of the wisdom which is of good, and more of the mere knowledge of which is evil. They penetrate, however, rudderless or compassless into the vast ocean of the light ineffable. And again, like the adventures of the Nubian geographer, aggressi sunt mare tenubarum quid enneo esset exploraturi, we will say then that I am mad. I grant at least that there are two distinct conditions of my mental existence. The condition of a lucid reason, not to be disputed, and belonging to the memory of events forming the first epoch of my life, and a condition of shadow and doubt, appertaining to the present, and to the recollection of what constitutes the second great era of my being. Therefore, what I shall tell of the earlier period, believe, and to what I may relate of the later time, give only such credit as may seem due, or doubt altogether. Or if doubt ye cannot, then play unto it riddle the Oedipus. She who I loved in youth, and whom I now pen calmly and distinctly these remembrances, was the sole daughter of the only sister of my mother long departed. Eleonora was the name of my cousin. We had always dwelled together beneath the tropical sun in the valley of the many-coloured grass. No unguided footstep ever came upon that vale, for it lay far away upon the range of giant hills that hung beetling around about it, shutting out the sunlight from its sweetest recesses. No path was trodden in its vicinity, and to reach our happy home, there was need of putting back with force the foliage of many thousands of forest trees, and of crushing to death the glories of many millions of fragrant flowers. Thus it was that we all lived alone, knowing nothing of the world without the valley, I and my cousin and her mother. From the dim regions beyond the mountains at the upper end of our encircled domain, there crept out a narrow and deep river, brighter than all save the eyes of Eleonora, and winding stealthily about in mazy courses, it passed away at length through a shadowy gorge, among hills still dimmer than those whence it had issued. We called it the River of Silence, for there seemed to be a hushing influence in its flow. No murmur arose from its bed, and so gently it wandered along that the pearly pebbles upon which we loved to gaze far down within its bosom stirred not at all, but lay in a motionless content, each in its old station, shining on gloriously forever. The margin of the river, and of the many dazzling rivulets that glided through devious ways into its channel, as well as the spaces that extended from the margins way down into the depths of the streams until they reached the bed of petals at the bottom. These spots, not less than the whole surface of the valley, from the river to the mountains that girdled it, were carpeted all by a soft green grass, thick, short, perfectly even, and vanilla perfumed, but so besprinkled throughout with the yellow buttercup, the white daisy, the purple violet, and the ruby-red asphodel, that its exceeding beauty spoke to our hearts in loud tones of the love and of the glory of God. And here and there, in groves about this grass, like wilderness of dreams, sprang up fantastic trees, whose tall, slender stems stood not upright, but slanting gracefully toward the light that peered at noonday into the centre of the valley. Their bark was speckled with the vivid alternate splendour of ebony and silver, and was smoother than all save the cheeks of Eleonora, so that, but for the brilliant green of the huge leaves that spread from their summits in long tremulous lines, dallying with the zephyrs, one might have fancied them giant serpents of Syria, doing homage to their sovereign, the sun. Hand in hand about this valley for 15 years roamed I with Eleonora, before love entered within our hearts. It was one evening at the close of the third lustrum of her life and of the fourth of my own that we sat locked in each other's embrace beneath the serpent-like trees and looked down within the waters of the river of silence at our images therein. We spoke no words during the rest of that sweet day, and our words even upon the morrow were tremulous and few. We had drawn the god Eros from that wave, and now we felt that he had enkindled within us the fiery souls of our forefathers. The passions which had for centuries distinguished our race came thronging with the fancies for which they had been equally noted, and together breathed a delirious bliss over the valley of the many-coloured grass. A change fell upon all things. Strange, brilliant flowers, star-shaped, burst out upon the trees where no flowers had been known before. The tints of the green carpet deepened, and when, one by one, the white daisies shrank away, there sprung up in place of them 10 by 10 of the ruby-red asphodel, and life arose in our paths. For the tall flamingo, hitherto unseen with all gay glowing birds, flaunted his scarlet plumage before us. The golden and silver fish haunted the river, out of the bosom of which issued, little by little, a murmur that swelled at length into a lulling melody more divine than that of the harp of Alos, sweeter than all save the voice of Eleonora. And now, too, a voluminous cloud, which we had long watched in the regions of Hesper, floated out thence all gorgeous in crimson and gold, and settled in peace above us, sank day by day lower and lower, until its edges rested upon the tops of the mountains, turning all their dimness into magnificence and shutting us up, as if forever, within a magic prison house of grandeur and of glory. The loveliness of Eleonora was that of the seraphim, but she was a maiden artless and innocent as the brief life she had led among the flowers. No guile disguised the fervour of love which animated her heart. And she examined me, its inmost recesses, as we walked together in the valley of the many-coloured grass, and discoursed of the mighty changes which had lately taken place therein. At length, having spoken one day in tears of the last sad change which most befall humanity, she thenceforward dwelt only upon this one sorrowful theme, interweaving into it all our converse, as in the songs of the bard Chiraz, the same images are found occurring again and again in every impressive variation of the phrase. She had seen that the finger of death was upon her bosom, that like the ephemeron, she had been made perfect in loveliness only to die. But the terrors of the grave to her lay solely in a consideration which she revealed to me one evening at twilight by the banks of the river of silence. She grieved to think that, having entombed her in the valley of the many-coloured grass, I would quit forever its happy recesses, transferring the love which now was so passionately her own to some maiden of the outer and everyday world. And then and there, I threw myself hurriedly at the feet of Eleonora and offered up a vow to herself and to heaven that I would never bind myself in marriage to any daughter of earth, that I would in no manner prove recreant to her dear memory or to the memory of the devout affection which she had blessed upon me. and I call the mighty ruler of the universe to witness the pious solemnity of my vow. And the curse which I invoked of him and of her, a saint in Helusion, should I prove traitorous to that promise, involved a penalty of the exceeding great horror, of which will not permit me to make record of it here. And the bright eyes of Eleonora grew brighter at my words, and she sighed as if a deadly burthen had been taken from her breast, and she trembled and very bitterly wept, but she made acceptance of the vow. For what was she but a child? And it made it easy to her the bed of her death. And she said to me not many days afterward, tranquilly dying, that because of what I'd done for the comfort of her spirit, she would watch over me in the spirit when departed, and, if so it were permitted, her return to me visibly in the watches of the night. But if this thing were indeed beyond the power of the souls in paradise, that she would at least give me frequent indications of her presence, sighing upon me in the evening winds, or filling the air which I breathed with perfume from the senses of the angels. And with these words upon her lips, she yielded up her innocent life, putting an end to the first epoch of my own. Thus far I have faithfully said. But as I pass the barrier in time's path formed by the death of my beloved and proceed with the second era of my existence, I feel that a shadow gathers over my brain, and I mistrust the perfect sanity of the record. But let me on. Years dragged themselves along heavily, and still I dwelled within the valley of the many-coloured grass, but a second change had come upon all things. The star-shaped flowers shrank into the stems of the trees and appeared no more. The tints of green carpet faded, and one by one the ruby-red asphodels withered away. And there sprang up in place of them 10 by 10 dark, eye-like violets that writhed uneasily and were ever encumbered with dew. And life departed from our paths, for the tall flamingo flaunted no longer his scarlet plumage before us, but flew sadly from the vale into the hills, with all the gay glowing birds that arrived in his company. And the golden and silver fish swam down through the gorge at the lower end of our domain, and bedecked the sweet river never again. And the lulling melody that had been softer than the wind harp of Aeolus, and more divine than all save the voice of Eleonora, it died, little by little, in murmurs, growing lower and lower, until the stream returned at length utterly into solemnity of its original silence. And then lastly, the voluminous cloud uprose, and abandoning the tops of the mountains to the dimness of old, fell back into the regions of Hesper, and took away all its manifold gold and gorgeous glories from the valley of the many-coloured grass. And yet, the promises of Eleonora were not forgotten, for I heard the sounds of the swinging of the censers of the angels, and streams of holy perfume floated ever and ever about the valley. And at lone hours, when my heart beat heavily, and the winds that bathed my brow came into me unladen with soft sighs, and indistinct murmurs filled the night air, and once, oh, but only once, I was awakened from a slumber like the slumber of death by the pressing of spiritual lips upon my own. But the void within my heart refused even thus to be filled. I longed for the love which had before filled it to overflowing. At length the valley pained me through its memories of Eleonora, and I left it forever for the vanities and the turbulent triumphs of the world. I found myself within a strange city, where all things might have served to blot from recollection the sweet dreams I dreamed so long in the valley of the many-coloured grass. The pomps and the pageantries of a stately court and the mad clangor of arms, and the radiant loveliness of women bewildered and intoxicated my brain. But as yet, my soul had proved true to its vows, and the indications of the presence of Eleonora was still given me in the silent hours at night. Suddenly these manifestations, they ceased, and the world grew dark before mine eyes, and I stood aghast at the burning thoughts which possessed it, the terrible temptations which beset me, for there came from some far, far distant and unknown land, into the gay court of the king I served, a maiden to whose beauty my whole recreant heart yielded at once, at whose footstool I bowed down without struggle in the most ardent, in the most abject worship of love. What indeed was my passion for the young girl of the valley in comparison with the fervour and the delirium and the spirit-lifting ecstasy of adoration with which I poured out my whole soul in tears at the feet of the ethereal Ermengarde? Oh, bright was the seraph Ermengarde, and in that knowledge I had room for none other. Oh, divine was the angel Ermengarde. And as I looked down into the depths of her memorial eyes, I thought of only them and of her. I wedded, nor dreaded the curse I had invoked, and its bitterness was not visited upon me. And once, but once again, in the silence of the night, there came through my lattice the soft sighs which had forsaken me, and they modelled themselves into a familiar and sweet voice saying, "Sleep in peace, for the spirit of love reigneth and ruleth, and in taking to thy passionate heart her who is Ermengarde, thou art absolved, for reasons which shall be made known to thee in heaven, of thy vows unto Eleonora." Gonk, gonk. Well, you all got your bosoms tonight, alright? Poor man, no, he found love. He found love. It's all good. It's a beautiful story. No, he that's what love needs to do. It needs to move on. We need to do that, right? It's great, man. Poe, get in there. Listen, first cousins, I get it. But circumstances being what they are. But at least they also found actual... Then he understood what real love was, you know? And so that was... that he was able to find it again. And I think that, you know, the voices from Eleonora or from heaven, whatever, we have to also give to ourselves, I think, sometimes. Forgive ourselves. And there it is. Love is love. Nice one. Who suggested that? That's nice. After a little bit of all that other stuff. Oh, I don't know about that. It's what I tell myself anyway. I don't know if it's wise words or not, but I think the world's hard enough without making it hard for ourselves. My feeling anyway. Baby, don't hurt me no more. Is this love? So I'm thawing your cold dead heart. It's alright, you can go back to Mum's van. She'll freeze it right back up. Ooh, bitch. Meow. Alright, Win. I think the black cat's going to have to happen at some point though. Because it's been called for a few times. Shipwreck? How did a shipwreck come into this? All right, guys. It is 10:45. I think Prague time. I think it's time for Michael to get his sleepy buys. Oh, the Game Awards. That's right. When's all that happening? Black Cat later. No, not tonight, guys. No Black Cat tonight. Next time. Cool. Time to get your jammies on, lad. Exactly. The boomer needs his EP time. Guys, I was up early. Alright? I was up early. I'm going to be up early again tomorrow. My stream paused and I thought you were just quiet for a long time because I wasn't watching. Well, maybe I was getting quite contemplative. Another stream. Yes, there will be another stream. I don't know when. We'll need to check the dates, won't we? Because it's all Christmassy and stuff. But if we follow Thursdays through, which is where we seem to be going here, I guess there might be one after Christmas sometime, which would be lovely. Let's get in my calendar out now. What the hell is that? What? Thursday 18th. Oh, it's Christmas Day. Christmas Day itself. Well. I don't know if I'm going to find it, but I was thinking of streaming a little bit of Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol. Maybe that should happen on Christmas Day. And then the Thursday after is New Year's Day. And, well, we'll see. Why not? But next week, I should be back with Logan, guys, doing Morrowind, innit? We like Dicks too. Yeah, bit of Dickens. I mean, not so many people know his cousin. That would be Wesley Dickouts. Keep what PG? Oh, Christmas Carol. Yeah, we can do that. You just have to remind me, and I'll tone it down. Absolutely family friendly. Could most happen. I've got it somewhere. I've got a copy, and I don't know if you know this, guys. That actually it wasn't. It's one of three stories. It's a trick. There's three stories. He did 3 Christmas stories, and the other 2 are actually pretty good as well. I don't know how long they are. We'll have to see. It might be a bit too much for one evening. Christmas Carol, but sexy. And what kind of like when we do a Sean Connery accent. Scrooge went into his office in the morning. The fire had been lit for him. Oh, Quantum Leap, man. Oh, that's one of the best programs. Stroke Connery. What's he stroking again? Someone over there. Oh, I see. Oh, very funny. Sean Connery there without the stroke. It's just very difficult to do without the stroke in there. All right, we'll work on that. Christmas Carol and a nightgown and nightcap with a candle holder. What am I doing with the candle holder? Thank you too. So we are. What? No, I'm not doing Night Before Christmas. I don't think I can because of copyright stuff, innit? It's all too new. Dickens is out of copyright. That's the whole thing with this. I could do Edgar Allan Poe. I can even read Dickens. Actually, Dickens was serialized. Did you know that? Every chapter was published per week. So that's pretty cool, isn't it? And I love Charles Dickens. So maybe we can do Dickens after we do Poe. Anything before 1927 and depending on the copies. So actually, I can't show you the cover for that very reason because this is what's that bird that can't swim? Lives in the Antarctic. I can probably mention it. It's a Penguin classic, but I can't read the foreword or the introduction or anything like that. But the print itself is actually the original, so I can do that. Yeah. He grew the Dadzig beard back. It's probably going to come off tomorrow, guys. Sorry about that. Penguin, dodo, can't swim. Can swim. Oh, I don't know. All right, guys. I'm gonna chip out. Thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate it. And okay, cool. And first, yes, look at that. Look at good nights. Good nights. Rest well. Sleep well. Drink water. Get off the blue screens now, and wherever you are. He says. But you know what I mean. We do our best. And we'll be back next week. I'll be back next week with Logan. And then the week after that, it's going to be Christmas. We'll sort something out. I'm going to do it. Let's do it. Who cares? I'm going to do it. Yeah, why not? Cool. See you guys.